The day is in the midst of a year-long look at affordable housing in the region. What specifically do you think the legislature should do to help people who can't afford to buy a home or who are struggling to rent an apartment?
I have a view of the housing market here. With rents being, 15, 16, $2,000 a month, if somebody's paying that a month to rent a place, they can afford a home, which would benefit the community and the towns they live in because then they become a taxpayer on that property. Um, the state can help people with this program by helping them in their bottom line with taxes. Um, Cutting a percentage of the income tax would help. Eliminating certain things like a car tax could help them achieve these goals. I think when people, when kids are thinking about adulthood, home ownership is one of the main things they think about. I think certain demographics in the community don't feel that that's achievable just because it seems the cards are stacked against them. Requiring a substantial down payment, certain credit rating, and things like that. I think that if we were to look at somebody's, longevity as a good tenant renting, a three-bedroom apartment for $2,000 a month, that's a pretty good investment or risk investment for banks to want to take interest in these kind of people.
So I think what you're saying is make it easier for them to
For the
afford
first,
things
yeah,
in general.
right, yeah. If you make everything more affordable, it would help people come up with the down payments they need for houses. But when they're stretching, each check to check, it makes it more difficult, and it kind of demoralizes the person. They're working hard, sometimes two jobs, to try to achieve this just to be shut down because inflation or taxes are killing them.
Connecticut recently enacted a law designed to provide safeguards against lawsuits for out of state patients seeking abortions in Connecticut and any provider who helps them. Do you support efforts to make Connecticut such a safe haven?
Yeah, I'm pro-life. I think, or pro-choice, I should say. Um, for people, there's a lot of reasons why people may not be able to have the child. Um, I don't think it has a place in politics. I believe that is between the person and the provider uh, and the partner of that person.
What do you mean it doesn't have a place in politics?
I believe that's something that has to go. Somebody has to live with the decision they make. I don't think politics should play a role in saying what you can and what you can't do with your body.
So as far as the state enacting laws related, you think it should be hands off, or
I think the state should offer protection for people who choose to make the decisions they make.
the state's surplus has grown to over $4 billion. Do you support the decision to use some of that money to lower the state's pension debt, or do you think more should be returned to the taxpayer?
That's a lot of money and you can do both. In essence, it is the people's money and it should go back to them. Paying down, a pension fund would also help the future. But people need help now, with the rise of heating costs and energy and everything going on, gas, food. It needs to go back to the people so they can live now.
How should Connecticut move forward to address climate change with regards to electric vehicles, wind power, and other clean energy strategies?
I mean, it is evident that there's a change in our climate worldwide. Each area has its own um, issues to face. Clean energy is obviously the best way to go, um, but getting everybody on board, finding the best, most efficient ways to get there. There are still problems with electric vehicles. I think it's a work in progress. I think it's going to continue to be a work in progress, but I'd like to see us become a more green state.
Do you think the 2020 election was conducted fairly and Joe Biden won? And do you support early voting and voting by mail initiatives?
The 2020 election, I mean, really, who knows, right? It is what it is. The results came out. I don't believe that it was stolen. Um, do I feel that mail-in voting is valid or a good way to exercise your right to vote? I don't. I think it's one of the few rights that you're born with as an American citizen is to vote, and I think that you owe it to everybody, your neighbors, your family, to go out and make sure that your vote is counted at the poll and not leave anything up to chance.
I just want to make sure I understand you clearly. We'll go back to the 2020 election. You sounded a little hesitant as far as talking about. Um, Sounds like you agree with the results, but maybe had some issues. Maybe that's just being.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues with it. It is what it is. The results came out the way they did, and when you lose, you have to lose. I lost a city council, race because of mail-in ballots at the 11th hour, and I ended up losing by 8 votes. I wasn't happy about it. Do I want to challenge it? I do, but city council wasn't meant for me. I was meant for something bigger, and right now that's the state representative position that I'm running for in the 139th district here.
And so you wouldn't support early voting or mail-in vote initiatives.
I don't know.
About 58% of education funding comes from local property taxes, 37% from state taxes. It leads to higher mill rates, especially in less affluent towns and cities with lower property values. The question is there a better way? Would you push for property tax reform in any way, or do you have any ideas related to taxes, property taxes?
Well, obviously, where you talk about the communities that are suffering a little bit more, they also tend to have a higher crime rate. So people aren't moving there, affluent families aren't moving to those communities because they're not safe. So reforming, a certain percentage of the property taxes, I think it needs to be dispersed fairly. Education, if you have a safer community and a better education system, you're going to get those families that you're looking for. You're going to be able to keep your mill rate up. You're not going to have to keep raising property taxes on people, because what you're going to do is you can increase the population in that town. Our educators, I feel, are underpaid. I feel that they do a lot of work, and a lot of them come out of their own pockets to make sure that these children have everything that they need, whether it's school supplies or food, in a good learning environment.
Would you support alternate ways to tax people as far as property taxes?
Yes, I would support that.
And lastly, I just want to know, are there any issues specific to your district, which is Norwich, Montville, part of Ledyard, correct?
Correct.
That maybe aren't getting the attention that you think it should be?
That aren't or are getting?
Or not?
I don't think that enough attention is being paid to the crimes that are happening in our area. The current people in position right now in the seats in this area have voted for the Police Accountability Act, which has made it harder for departments to hire police officers. Every department that you just named are down in numbers, and I'm sure, as you go across the state, every department is down in their recruits and the number of officers, just because there's more scrutiny. Not that any of the police officers were doing anything wrong, but all of a sudden, you have people not wanting to do a job that, when I was a kid, you always used to play, I'll be the policeman, and, or that was one of the jobs you wanted to do as you grew up. The crime, people are struggling, economically here. Like I said, a lot of people are living check to check, and with the price of groceries and heating costs and everything going up, nobody's check is going up, so, you're already taking people who are stretched thin and asking them more from them.
Is there something that should be done to address what you said as far as crime? I mean, is there?
Well, overturning the Police Accountability Act, I think, would help. I think getting out there, getting more officers on the street will kind of deter a lot of the crimes and things that are happening. People want to be able to know they can go to sleep and not worry about having their car stolen from their driveway or broken into. People want to be able to know that they can walk down the street and not worry about a shooting or anything like that. There's a lot of questions people have, when it comes to their safety. And, in the last few years, that fear has gone up. And if you look at the correlation when the Police Accountability Act was initiated, you could see that, that it's not a coincidence.